Faces dropped on a Tuesday edition of Soccer Down Here. It is September 22nd. It's a Tuesday Thoughts edition of the show. We'll be taking your thoughts on Twitter at Soccer Down Here, on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/Soccer Down Here. You can send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail. Lots of news kind of hitting early this morning over in Europe. We'll get into that. We'll talk about MLS comings and goings, and it looks like there could be a few in each direction. We'll get into that. We'll also get into anything else you guys want to get into. Copa Libertadores, match day 4 starts today. We'll get into some of those matches. Lots of storylines there. You've got qualifying for the European Champions League coming up. You've got a story going on in Israel that involves Jesse Marsch and Red Bull Salzburg. That's a little complicated. We'll get into all that stuff this morning as we go. John, where do you want to start?
See, you give me all of those things, and the one that just popped up into my head first and foremost was Luis Suarez.
Yeah, we don't have a ton of details just yet on Luis Suarez because, I mean, he's not going to Italy, so I don't know if this honestly really matters. But Luis Suarez has had some issues lately, and it's somewhat unfair to him because Barcelona's a mess. He wants to leave. He's trying to get out of Barcelona. Yes, lately, ragamuffin. It's lately it's gotten to another level for Luis Suarez. He hasn't bitten anybody in a while. He's been a good citizen, yes. Except for maybe cheating on his Italian language exam. And it sounds like he would have had to have been involved in this. It wasn't just like they scored it and said he was fine. It is, let's see. So he took the exam at the University of Perugia, and now there are reports that are out there that he had access to the answers ahead of time. The test usually takes about 2 hours, and it took 25 minutes in Luis Suarez's case. It's usually a bad sign. He passed it. Well, now remember, he's not going to Juventus anyway. They've already moved on. Alvaro Morata is already there. So this whole thing, like, Suarez was going to go to Juve. Okay, that falls apart. Then he's going to go to Atleti. Atleti says, okay, yeah, we're going to bring Luis Suarez in. Let's move Morata over to Juventus. We'll make room. Now Bartomeu, the president at Barcelona, is like, no, we're not going to let you go to Atletico Madrid. What are you thinking? So now he's stuck because there's reports that they're going to talk to Cavani, who is out of contract. And I don't know what happens with him. I mean, he can't go to Italy now anywhere. That's not going to happen. I don't think anybody's going to let him go into Spain anywhere with Bartomeu not wanting him to go to a rival. It's been a mess, and yeah, it probably makes Messi sad, but this whole thing is crazy, and it just keeps getting worse for Luis Suarez at this point.
Well, and the thing that struck me was, all right, so how long is the test normally supposed to take?
This is not that important. I mean, 2 hours is what they said.
And then how long did it take him?
25 minutes.
Yeah.
So, he's not going there. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's the thing, is it's a funny little tabloid story, but he's not going to Italy. No. And I would think that he's not going to be extradited to Italy to be in trouble here.
No. You cheated on an exam, we're extraditing you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with no here. So Juventus asked for the exam. That's coming out in Calcio Mercato. They are not being investigated as of yet. They asked to have Suarez take the exam. The problems arose when we were faced with a person who had no knowledge of Italian. Well, that would make an Italian language exam a little difficult. The team is not being investigated. There's been no external pressure. It was the initiative of those who work at the University of Perugia who let themselves be enchanted by such a character. I mean, The player risks nothing, and this is from Calcio Mercato. This type of crime is only charged to public officials, the crime of disclosure of professional secrecy. And subsequently, in the moment of the false report, there is the falsity of public officials and public documents. So it's all going to be on the people at the university. Maybe Juventus, if they find out that they told them to do it or they paid them off to do it. So, it is what it is. But Luis Suarez, yes, poor Luis, according to Hutcho, this really bites. That's just ridiculous. Hutcho, yes. Ridiculous. Ridiculous, my friend. That was pretty good, actually. I wish I'd thought of it. All right, so Luis Suarez doesn't have a place to go as of yet. We'll see what happens with him. Other things going on in the European theater at this point. Serginho Dest is being pursued by both Bayern and Barcelona, and it depends on who you talk to as to who's in the lead. Because it's pretty equal between the different people who cover transfers in Europe. Like, some are saying he's going to Bayern for sure, others are saying he's going to Barcelona for sure. Ajax has set the price tag at €25 million. Pretty good for a U.S. men's national team outside back. We'll see if he ends up getting that, and we'll see where he ends up. Could be one of those like $15 to $20 million deals with add-ons, and we'll see if it gets there. I mentioned Jesse Marsch, and Red Bull Salzburg is in Israel, in Tel Aviv, to play Maccabi Tel Aviv today in a UEFA Champions League qualifier. A player and a staff member have tested positive for COVID-19. They had a number of other positives. The match is going to go on as scheduled. Players who tested negative and have tested negative are going to be available to play, and staff members who are clear are going to be able to be there. But Tel Aviv's on a lockdown. There were some concerns in Austria and Europe as a whole about how these things go forward. This is the new normal right now. We've seen this in South America with the situation with Boca and Libertad last week. It's not going to go away. That's why they're expanding these rosters. That's why they're allowing teams to call up players from their academies, from their reserve teams. You don't have any time in the calendar to back anything up anymore. It's impossible. That's why England is playing the Gummy Bear Cup, the Carabao Cup, in the midst of all this, where you got teams playing games every 3 days. It's impossible. And Manchester City is going to field their academy team essentially in that match because they can't take it seriously. You can't back this game up. So the players who are clear will play. The players who are not clear will not play. And they're not able to play right now. You've got this going on in Copa Libertadores as well tonight, with Flamengo having a number of positives heading into Ecuador for their match, and to the point that they had to send a charter with some reserve team and youth team players into Ecuador to give the team a full squad. That's where you're at right now. That's just the reality of the situation that pro sports is dealing with, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but I don't think it's going to change. And why is it not going to change? Well, the UK government announced just a little while ago that they're going to make a step towards more coronavirus restrictions because there's been some spiking of cases. The idea of bringing people into the stands on a trial basis and in the EFL has been scrapped for now. And this is a scary thing for all the clubs in England. And there's already a call for bailouts because the Premier League chief exec, Richard Masters, told the BBC that a failure to allow fans back as soon as possible would cost clubs £700 million, almost $900 million. David Baldwin, the chief exec of the EFL, said that clubs in the last season, the gate receipts they lost at the end of the season, £50 million. Estimated a further £200 million will be lost if crowds do not return during this current season and upcoming for some of the lower divisions. He said the contribution to football's finances made by match-going supporters is critical to the viability of league football and all EFL clubs. So the Premier League, the FA, I'm assuming the EFL is part of this as well. There's 100 sports organizations that are part of it. They have asked Boris Johnson for emergency funding because of the pandemic. The BBC reported that yesterday. Tennis, cricket, rugby, all the sports organizations that are not able to operate as normal are part of this, and they're worried about, quote, a lost generation of activity right now. I mean, there's not an answer to this. There's not an easy answer just to say, oh, do this and everything's fine. This is the realities of trying to figure all this out with getting people in the stands, playing games, keeping business as close to normal as you can, but you can't. So how do you navigate that? And nobody really knows. Everybody's figuring it out on the fly. I mean, you've got Real Madrid to a point where they were looking at Edinson Cavani and bringing him in, and they said they feel like it's unethical to sign a new player with a proposal that they're about to roll out to ask people to take a pay cut, a second pay cut, because that's where things stand right now. Even Real Madrid, who has done really well with this financially, they're not immune to it. So we'll see. But this is why these games are continuing. This is why Champions League and these competitions are continuing, because you don't have fans in the stands, but you do have the sponsors, you do have the TV money, you do have revenue coming in because of them, and that's critical right now where there's no other revenue coming in.
Yeah, you mentioned revenue tonight there, and this afternoon, our time leading into later this afternoon, there's supposed to be 5 EFL Cup games going on. One of them is Leyton Orient and Tottenham. Leyton Orient is trying to lobby the powers that be in the EFL Cup to postpone their match tonight with Spurs because they've had as many as 10 players test positive.
You can't postpone. There's nowhere to postpone it to. I mean, they're playing in Europa League, and they're playing in League. Like, where are you going to postpone it to?
Right. And the owner of Leyton Orient went on TalkSport this morning and said that his League Two side is set to lose £2.5 million this year, and the match tonight against Tottenham would be worth £150,000. And so right now, the lobbying is going on to create a postponement instead of a cancellation, which would give Tottenham a bye to the next round. So that's why we're still waiting.
But there's no way you can postpone it. That's the problem. Is yes, I understand that. How did they not prepare to have? I mean, do they have some form of a reserve team? Is there some way that they could have been allowed to sign players or loan players in for this? I mean, there had to be another way. And it stinks. It's awful for Leyton Orient, but you can't postpone games anymore. And people have to understand that. And when clubs do this, it's misleading to people. There's no room to postpone anything. Tottenham's playing games like every 3-4 days right now. Mm-hmm. How do you postpone a game? There's nowhere to postpone it to. There's nowhere to put it into the calendar. So you have to do something with it. And can Leyton Orient just not field a squad, period? Like they can't even get the minimum number of people on the field to play? I'd assume they have more than 10 people on the roster.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is important because if
I know.
But no, this is very important because if their problem is, well, we're missing our top striker and we're missing our goalkeeper, so we want to postpone. Sorry. No. Can you field a squad? I would hope that you have more than 18 people that are available to play. Because if you can put 8 out there, you can play. Is it what you want? Nope. Does the game happen? Yep. Are people going to be in the stands? Nope. Is it going to get played and be on TV and you make whatever that 6-figure amount is? Yep. Are you going to be a little bit of a laughingstock? Yep. Is that better to have the 6 figures in your pocket? Yep. So, stop complaining. We got a little bit of something.
Uh-oh.
Darren Eels tweeted, "Why am I online? It's driving me crazy, ... Hashtag 5 stripes don't stop. Hashtag, although they may pause evanescently during crazy COVID 2020, but keep the faith 17th. Okay.
Evanescent?
Evanescently. Evanescently. That's what I said.
Yeah, that's just... I've never heard of a rock band turned into an adverb before.
It's not a rock band. What?
Evanescence?
Have you heard of the word evanescence? They didn't make it up.
No, I've just heard of the rock band. I've never heard of the word used as a word. And are they really even a rock band?
Yes, they're really a rock band, John. They have guitars and they have drums and they sing. They're a rock band.
Okay.
Good grief. All right, this just went way down the toilet. All right. So Darren Hill's got something going on. Ragamuffin singing "Bring Me to Life" in the Twitch pitch. Good times. Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing for any of y'all. What's up, 4Card? What's up, everybody? Darren Eels has tweeted, so things are happening. I mean, there's a rumor out there that has been all but confirmed everywhere. That's probably a safe bet. I have no idea how the tweet ties to it. None. I'm sure there will be an explanation of it because I do not know. But I don't think we have to guess too much about what could possibly be happening here. Ricky Ricardo is very angry that you are disparaging Evanescence.
I know they're from Little Rock. I know that they're Arkansas, but I didn't know what you classified them as.
What would you have classified them as, John? I mean, it's not hard.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're a rock group, but what kind of music are they? Are they alternative? Or are they? I mean, I see. I put rock and roll on one side. I put alternative on the other. I would think of them as more as an alternative band than a rock band. I'm still trying to look up the definition of Evanescence.
JP Vita is correct. John has had a sheltered life. Matt Wagner is oh boy. Ragamuffin, Amy Lee for life. Okay. Ricky's trying to figure out how everything connects, as am I. I do not get it. If the one that we're thinking is the case, I mean, it's we know what's going on here, we think, because there's a player who has been reported to be done, dusted, everything's done here, and it hasn't happened yet, so this would make sense.
Okay, how about What You Want from Evanescence in 2011?
Why are you going down the Evanescence road about stuff? Like, what are you doing?
First off, I was looking for the definition of the word. Now I'm looking at song titles for the group.
I don't care about the song titles for the group. The tweet is, why am I online? It's driving me crazy. Mataflow says Eminem lyrics, M and M, Marcelino Moreno, one of the easier ones according to Twitter. Yeah, I mean, that's an easy one. That's if that's it, that's an easy one. I didn't recognize the lyric, actually. What song is that from Eminem? John, do you like Creed?
No.
Okay. Nickelback?
Occasionally.
Yeah, JP Vita was right.
John Nason says it's an anagram.
Okay. What? What does that have? What?
No further detail. He just says it's an anagram.
Dios mío. Kings Never Dies, the song. Thank you, Kefsey. I did not recognize the song. I'm not up on my deeper cuts with Eminem. Matt Wagner, gracias. Let's see. Shiva, good point. I know why there's so much negativity. If we had a tailgate and Darren would show up, everything would be fine. That is accurate. I think that is accurate. If you had a tailgate with some smoked meats and Darren comes through and other people come through, I think everything goes away.
See, now I just had cinnamon rolls for breakfast, and now we're talking about meats at a tailgate.
Yeah. That song featured Gwen Stefani. I did not know that. Wow. Incredible. So, I mean, it's a safe bet that's about to happen here. We'll see. Generally, when these things go down, they're timed, so I think we've got a few minutes to wait. It is also Brooks Lennon's birthday, so happy birthday to Brooks Lennon. Good to see. We'll get into this. We'll wait for the official announcement, and we'll get into all this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Twitter about anagrams, about we're not going to get into the qualities of Evanescence as a band. If somebody wants to explain the word to John, go for it.
Yes, please.
You can also do that in the Twitch pitch as well. You might want to cut and paste dictionary.com or something. It's a newer Eminem song. No wonder I'm not up on it.
Okay.
I'm old school Eminem. Okay, so Mataflow has a question while we're all trying to figure this out. Do you consider cinnamon buns a breakfast or a dessert?
Breakfast by default. I've never really had them as a dessert.
It could be a dessert. I think of it as a breakfast. It could be a dessert, though.
Yeah, and these were the little pocket cinnamon rolls, too. I only had a couple of them. It wasn't like the normal-sized ones that are about the size of a hockey puck. These were like the little silver dollar ones.
Okay.
Just something to tide me over until the show is over.
Shooter McGavin says Captain Crunch is for breakfast, too.
Yes.
He's correct. Shooter, how you doing? How are your New England
late night snack?
How are your New England Revolution doing, Shooter McGavin? I'd like to hear from you. All right. So we're kind of killing time because we're expecting an announcement here shortly. When Darren Eales tweets, it's usually not too far afterwards that things come up, and we'll get into that. Any other short bits of news? Arturo Vidal's with Inter now. It was €1 million. Looks like you could see Milik, who was going to go to Roma from Napoli, go to Tottenham. That's popped up out of nowhere. The Roma deal looks like it has crashed. Roma's not going to release Dzeko to Juventus because they've got Morata, so the dominoes are falling in different directions. Tottenham could add another player. That was in Football Italia this morning. Manchester United's also trying to get Ousmane Dembele on a loan deal, and Barcelona would be open to a loan that would include a compulsory purchase option. And they'd also have to pay the full wages while he's on loan. Player would like to be in Spain, but Barcelona's trying to reduce their wage bill, and they want to get rid of players who are non-essential and fund new arrivals because they have no funds for new arrivals. So that's where it stands right now. And in Argentina, some news yesterday. Friendlies can start to be played between teams in the top two divisions. There's some already scheduled for Saturday. This is separate from the teams in the Libertadores. That's going to start up here very soon. There's talk that the league would be starting up, or at least the mini-league competition would be starting up in the second or third week of October. So things are starting to move forward a little bit. Shooter wants Bruce fired. He's not happy.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Shooter. I apologize. I shouldn't have asked. I hope you're having a good day outside of that. JP Vita is talking about Moreno. He says it's a little anticlimactic because it already seemed like a done deal from the media coverage. True. I mean, there's only so much you can do, especially with the Argentine deals, because, man, their media is all over everything. And the agents and clubs use the media very specifically to get these kinds of things out, and it's just how business is done. So this one was kind of hard to keep under wraps, and yeah, we're assuming that's what the deal is here in the next few minutes, and we'll see when it gets announced. No, Sean Vergara, Luis Suarez is not coming to Atlanta United, although I don't know where he's going to go at this point because everywhere he seems to go, something happens. I mean, he cheats on an Italian exam, then he wants to go to Atleti, and the president of Barcelona is like, nope, you can't go there. So I don't know. He's probably going to end up playing in Turkey or something weird. Let's see. What else we got? The CONCACAF League draw. We'll get into that. I do agree with Ricky. The crest from Municipal Linero is pretty excellent. So I'm on board with this thing. J-Dub Parker says Suarez to China, which is possible, I guess. It's weird with the way transfers are going right now, and I think we're even starting to see it over here a little bit. You've got so many clubs that are hampered by the pandemic. Not everybody, because Tottenham's linked to everybody. Chelsea signed everybody before. Al Nassr linked to everybody. Maybe they're going to go get Suarez. Good point, Mazzano. But you're starting to see where moves have domino effects, because a club doesn't have the money to go spend, but if they move a player, then they've got the money to go spend, then they bring in a player. That's what's been pretty typical. I mean, that's where Barcelona's stuck right now. That's why they wanted to get something for Vidal, even €1 million, which isn't a ton. They didn't want to let him go on a free. They don't want Suarez to go to Atleti on a free. They're trying to get a little something so it can fund other moves. Dest is one that they're trying to get done. They had to get rid of Semedo to be able to make that happen. Strummer John with your definition here. Evanescent, to pass quickly out of sight. Here in this tweet, it is an adverb, so passing quickly. That is Strummer John's guess, and that is an excellent guess, Strummer John. You win the gold star today, because that would fit the characteristics as a player of one Marcelino Moreno.
Very nice.
That is perfectly done. Strummer John, you are the winner for the day. Report to the press box to get your prize.
Report to the customer service booth at aisle 119 for your prize.
Yeah, basically. Wish we had one, but we don't. Sorry, Strummer. It's one of those things. So we are waiting on the announcement, and it sounds like it will be Marcelino Moreno from everybody doing the math and figuring these things out, and it is very cool to see this finally get done. Mm-hmm. That will start the timeline for what it can look like, how quickly he can get here. The reports out of Argentina were that he would be heading in this direction as early as today. That could be happening. So then you're starting the clock on the MLS quarantine onboarding process, which has been reported as 10 days. I've seen 14 as well, but it's been reported as 10 typically. You also have to get the visa, and we don't know what that process looks like at the moment. Blaise Matuidi got his pretty quickly. Don't know where things stand with Gonzalo Higuain. So we're waiting to see. We're also waiting to see what the rest of the schedule will look like, and that could come out later today as well, according to Stephen Goff at the Washington Post. Yeah. So it's a busy day. It's a very, very busy day, and we're waiting on clicking to happen.
Stephen Goff, where Atlanta has been linked in his tweets starting overnight and adding to this morning. DC United starts their last stretch at home October 3rd versus Atlanta. Then DCU would be at Atlanta on October 24th. This is Goff trying to put pieces together. The Falcons are at home the next day.
Okay, yeah, and you're going to avoid those, obviously. That's a definite. So, okay. Things are starting to make sense now.
He's got in his DC group home matches to Columbus, Montreal, and Philly, away matches in addition to the October 3rd one with Atlanta away, Atlanta, Chicago, Cincinnati, New England, and Red Bulls.
All right, and that's about what I've been hearing too. Trying to find a button. There we go. From Mendoza, Argentina to Atlanta, Marcelino Moreno is now an Atlanta United player. It is official. Marcelino is going to be with Atlanta United here very shortly. In the release, Carlos Bocanegra says, "We're pleased to bring in a player of Marcelino's caliber and look forward to welcoming him to the club. He is a dynamic attacking midfielder who has proven to be a consistent performer in the Argentine Superliga. He has fantastic balance and change of direction ability and is a player who can create on his own or bring others into the game." From the release, 106 total appearances for Lanús, made his professional debut July 2016. League debut came later in 2016. He had an incredible year last year. It was his breakout season. He had been trending in this direction, but big-time breakout last year and was one of the top players, according to the ratings at Who Scored for the whole league. Let's get into who Marcelino Moreno is, because I want you guys, because I've already seen the people starting with the, he's not this, or he's not that, or blah, 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 blah. Stop. Let's get to know this guy a little bit, shall we? Born in the town of Montecasero in Mendoza, Marcelino grew up in a house with 15 people. He gave an interview to a Lanús fan site and said that he started playing soccer on the little fields in the neighborhood, the Potreros. And at 10 years old, he started going to the soccer school run by his grandfather. The school was called Escuela de Trapo. It was in his hometown. They went and they played a team from Atlético Palmira, and the Palmira team really liked him. They're a bigger team. They called him to go. It was hard for him to go because he couldn't always get to Atlético Palmira. It was a challenge for him. I mean, in his little town, he played in the school, and they played in a little field. This is him from an interview. He said, "We played in a little field across the street. Every hour a car passed, and we stopped there. The games against my cousins always ended up ended up in Quilombo, which I'm going to have to get a definition of. He said, until the mothers got angry. So he's playing with his family, playing in the neighborhood. He said, the first time I played for a team with T-shirts was at my grandfather's club. We didn't have the same socks nor the same shorts, but we did have the same shirt that my grandfather made. He played at first as a defensive midfielder there as a kid, as a 5, because he was kind of bigger than the others and he could pass. Played against the Palmyra team. They wanted him. He couldn't join them completely because it was too far away, so he didn't go there all that often. He would train with his grandfather and then play games with Palmyra. He said that he wanted to... Quilombo is a mess, a scandal. Thank you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. He said that he's talked to the boys from his hometown since he made it, and he's told them that you can come from here. I mean, his town is closer to Chile than it is to Buenos Aires. Not a whole lot of players come out of there because you've got to go looking for them. And luckily, he had some people that helped people find him. So when he started to get to Palmyra, he made a couple of friends at the club, and he was a really quiet boy, really quiet. He couldn't get to training every day. One of the guys on the team, his father, would go to get him sometimes. Sometimes they'd go to train the kids in Marcelino's hometown because they couldn't bring him, so they'd go and train kids there. He joined Palmyra kind of officially between 12 and 13 years old. Let's see. So because the Mendoza Soccer League, it's a small regional league. I mean, here in Atlanta, if you guys have heard of like the League of Lawrenceville, League of Mag, the different Latino leagues in town, it's somewhat like that. And when players sign up to play in those leagues, they have to register, and there's a payment that's required when they have to register. When it came up for him to join Palmyra officially to be part of the squad, he didn't have any money. He didn't have money to get registered, and somebody went to help him. It was a father of a Palmyra player, Julio Paredes, who found out that he couldn't do it, he couldn't afford it, he didn't want to ask for money. They got into the car, they went to look for him, and they got his card, and they got his pass. First game he played, officially, Palmyra won 4-2, Marcelino scored 2 goals. He debuted in 2010 in the first division of the league in Mendoza. That would have made him 14, playing against grown men, playing in a local regional league. And he played pretty consistently until 2011. Then he had an opportunity to go to Buenos Aires to do a trial at Boca Juniors. And somebody from Palmyra went with him. They liked him, and then they had a presidential election. Everything changed. They didn't sign him. So he went back to Palmyra. He stayed at Palmyra through the first part of 2013. He was part of Palmyra's 100th anniversary club in 2012, where they had a great season, and he's beloved at Palmyra, which is a tiny little club. He goes to Lanús when he's 17 years old, a little bit of a late bloomer, because, again, he's out in the middle of nowhere compared to Buenos Aires and the big teams. So he goes at 17 years old to Lanús. It was a 15-hour bus ride to get to Lanús. He said he remembered that day, traveled 15 hours, he arrived, he trained that day. After training, he had to get back on a bus to travel to Charabuco for preseason. So probably on a bus 20-plus hours that day. He said it was really hard when he first went to Lanús. He was away from home for the first time. He really struggled with it at first. He arranged for his parents to come once a month to see him. That helped. That helped kind of get him in, get him comfortable. Guillermo Barros Scalotto was one of the managers at Lanús. Didn't rate him yet. Sent him to Talleres on loan for a while in the lower divisions. Did well there. Came back to Lanús, played with the U20s in the Copa Libertadores, Sub-20, the U20 Copa Libertadores. Did really well. They lost in the semifinals to Sao Paulo, 3-2. He was a leader in that team. Jorge Almiron had taken over as the manager after Schelotto went to Boca. Jorge Almiron liked him, started to bring him into the first team. But it was the current manager at Lanús, Luis Zubeldia, who really brought everything out of him. And one thing he did is he played him a little bit deeper to create more space in front of him. Great speed, great quickness, great on the dribble. Some people call him gambetta, which is like the dribble. It's something that's celebrated in Argentina. Players who are able to do this and dribble past opponents are celebrated. Players who try to dribble past opponents a lot are celebrated. That's very different than the style here. Moreno led the Argentine Superliga in dribbles last year by a large margin. He's an incredible dribbler. He's fast, but I think he's quicker than he's fast, if that makes sense. Like, first step is amazing. I don't know if he's going to win a foot race against a sprinter, but he's going to get a great start, and he's great on the ball. So it took him a little bit when he broke into Lanús to get past being a solid player to a top player. And that was like the challenge. That was where he kind of hit a wall, and 2018 is where that started to change. Zubeldia just basically said, play your game. You're a crack. Like, just play. Just do what you do. And he said, when many people doubted, he trusted me, placed all his trust with his coaching staff in him, and he started to bloom. And he was considered by teammates as the player who destabilized the opposition the most. All the players loved him. They posted pictures over the weekend when he went and said his goodbyes. He's a beloved figure at Lanús because he was there for a long time, and he kind of emerged there, again, from kind of nowhere, to be honest. There was a $10 million release clause that was on his contract. Reports in Argentina have this deal at $7 million. Atletico Mineiro and Sampaoli tried to get him in April, but Lanús wanted the release clause. They weren't going to negotiate. That was in April. Their president spoke on radio over the weekend, and he said the club's been losing between $100,000 and $150,000 per month right now. He said they've cut their player budget. They're okay. They've still got some debts they've got to pay, but they're in decent shape. But the financial situation's changed from April when they wanted 10. So you're going to get him at a little bit better deal here, and reportedly there's a contract through the 2025 season. So that might be able to get you to where he is a designated player now. He might not be throughout his whole lifetime of his contract here. A couple things that jumped out to me. So his story, one, is just, you got to root for a guy like this. I love that he emerged from out of nowhere. I love that he's a late bloomer. I love that, in a lot of ways, what helped him, become a key figure at Lanús was Atlanta signing Miguel Almiron, because that opened up a spot, and it opened up not just a position, but a role. And it brought him into that central kind of role. And again, coming from a little bit deeper position, almost like an 8, with more space in front of him. You want a dribbler with space in front. You want him to have space to be able to break people down. And Moreno started to do that. Goals started to come a little bit for him. Never a huge goal scorer at Lanús, but they started to come in the last year for him. But he still loved where he came from. The club that he started at, Atletico Palmira, in 2018, they made their soccer school for 4 to 8-year-olds. They named it the Marcelino Moreno Soccer School. It's where kids get started, and a lot of it is because of how much help he needed to get started. They wanted to do that to honor him, what he did for the club. This deal is going to bring that club about $90,000. Doesn't sound like a lot. To that club, it's massive. It's massive. That's where those solidarity payments, those training things come into compensation here. So they're going to make some money out of this deal. And he is being celebrated in a big way in his hometown right now. This news is going to be all over the place. It was already a lot of stories talking about his history and how much he's done for the club and how he is an idol to kids in that area. So that, and there was a line Diego Bautista wrote in Los Andes over the weekend, and translated, He said the skinny brunette with the imposing hair who broke it in the eastern pastures, the Potreros del Este, is going to the United States. And he said, Los sueños están para cumplirse. Dreams are to be fulfilled. That's what a move like this is. And I know at times, like, it's easy to be cynical and talk about these kinds of signings as, oh, well, you know, he scored 4 goals, blah, blah, blah. This is a lifelong dream for a player like Marcelino Moreno to get an opportunity to come to play in the United States and to play in Atlanta. He is an icon at Lanús. He's an even bigger icon where he came from, at Atlético Palmira. This is a big deal, not just for him. This is a great signing for the club because he is a player that, I'm with Carlos on this. He's a player who will create things for himself, but he will bring this team together and make a big deal. Anybody who is trying to tell you that this is a bad signing or a bust before it's even been announced, stop. Stop this nonsense. This is a guy, and this goes back to support. This is a guy that you have to support and love his story. Because not just to kids in his hometown, not just to academy players at Lanús, to academy players with Atlanta United. This is the story of how you make it and how you don't give up. He could have walked away when it got hard to go 15 hours away to go to Lanús. He could have walked away. He didn't. He kept fighting it out. He could have walked away when it didn't come easy for him. He didn't. He kept fighting it out. He got a manager who believed in him, a manager who got the best out of him, and he's turned into one of the top players coming out of Argentina. Yes, he's 25. Yes, it took him a little bit longer. He needed a little bit of help to get noticed. He was out in an area that did not have major clubs. He needed a little bit of extra help and a little bit of extra time. To try to hold something like that against him because he's older or he didn't have enough goals or whatever, stop. Miguel Almiron scored 2 goals at Lanús during his time there. He did all right. Marcelino Moreno has the ability to do all right. Is it a guarantee? No, because nothing is. Nothing's a guarantee. But to look at this on paper and say it's a bad signing or it doesn't fit or whatever or you should have waited, no. He's a big signing that a Brazilian club was probably going to pay this if it had been negotiated, if they had been available to negotiate in April. They didn't, luckily, for Atlanta, and I think he's a great fit here. I think he's a great fit. Shiva asked, do you see him as someone who would stay here long-term like Joseph? I absolutely could. I don't know if he's a player who will go to Europe. I don't know if he's a player who wants to go to Europe. I think he's a pretty, humble guy. He's got a child. He put a lot of extra pressure on himself trying to get a goal after his child was born because he wanted to dedicate it to his son, and it almost became like a weight on his back. I mean, you gotta love a guy like that. I think he's just a guy who loves his game and loves his football, and he's going to be somebody who will, in my opinion, just from watching games that he's played at Lanús, he's a player who Atlanta fans will appreciate. He's a hard worker. He will be beloved here. No, Ricky, he is not the replit for a player who went to Newcastle. That's good, though. He's his own man. Does he have some similarities with Miguel? He does. I mean, not just the club they're coming from. He does. He's not as fast. But he is that kind of player that will give you the work on both sides of the ball. He could be a player who wears Atlanta United shirt for 8 to 10 years and retires, probably after going back to Lanús to play a season. It's very, very cool. I'm pumped. As I started to read and research and dig into this, I got really inspired by the story, and I love the story of an underdog who makes it. I love the story of Atlanta United helping that underdog make it. I love the love that Lanús has given him, the fans, and none of it has been you should have stayed, we didn't want to sell you. It has been go do your thing, go represent us well. We'll see you soon. That's super cool. He doesn't have as Mazzano said, he doesn't have that pressure of South American Player of the Year. He'll have pressure, and he's dealt with pressure, and I'm not worried about that. But that was a big thing, yeah, absolutely. Something that we're doing that is, we haven't done this before, and like I said, his story inspired me. So we are going to, and I'm going to tweet it right now, if I can get all this done as I'm talking to you, from the Soccer Down Here account. I'll share it in the chat here in just a second. We have put together a welcome for Marcelino Moreno via a scarf with our friends at Die Hard, and they were great to help us put this together and great on making this effective for what we want to do. So we are doing a Bienvenido Marcelino scarf to welcome him, and we're going to get him one for sure. We've already got some people in Argentina who want one as well. We are going to sell these for $25, but what we're going to do, all the proceeds, we're going to donate to the soccer school that bears his name at Atlético Palmira. They're going to make $91,000 out of this deal. We're going to try to help a little bit. And we can't make that much for them, but we're going to make something and help some more kids.
Get the scarves.
We're not making that many scarves, John. Slow down. That's a lot of money. We're going to give a little something, though, because we want to welcome him here in a big way, but we also want to give back to what helped produce him for Atlanta. I think it's important to give that thanks. So that is actually being produced. I went ahead and jumped the gun thinking that this deal was done, and I crossed my fingers and went ahead and did it. So they're in production now. We should get them soon. If you want it, you guys know who buy scarves from us. You guys know the drill. Send us a message. We'll get you taken care of. But $25, that will get it out to you. That's the shipping. That's everything included. It's a little bit more, but we're trying to make a little bit more for Atlético Palmira. So I'm going to post that right now, and I'm really excited to see this guy in an Atlanta United shirt. I'm really excited that Marcelino Moreno is coming to Atlanta.
Sometimes it just takes that one person. When that one person believes in you, doesn't necessarily have to be a family member. It can be a close friend. It can be someone who's in your orbit. It can be someone who just kind of stumbles across your story and sits there and says, I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing. I like what you're doing for whatever reason. And it doesn't just have to be sports. And I know that we all have our sports versions of this. But it could be someone who is dedicated to their craft, who, it could be something like a widget or whatever mythical thing you want to talk about. Whatever business, whatever pursuit, whatever part of your heart you chase, to have someone believe in you and get what you're trying to do and see the passion that you have in whatever it is that you're doing. To have that one person in your corner can absolutely turn it into a snowball of folks to believe in you, to believe in yourself, to understand that your path is true, and to continue down that path to chase that dream that you want to have as a part of your dossier in your life. And I'm glad that you were able to share Moreno's story with everybody. We've all seen it in other places, but it's just the idea of belief and the idea of confidence and the idea of chasing that dream of yours, whatever it is. And I just, it's great to see in our orbit a story like Marcelino Moreno's, and just very, very cool across the board. But it does speak to the power of belief, and it just takes that one person to sit there and say, go for it. And then you're off and running.
Jason Nix, I'm going to pull back the curtain even further and tell you that is not true. Jason said, here's SDH pulling back the curtain that Darren tells him what's going on first. We see you. Nope. I did not get an answer that this was definite on Friday. I went ahead, because all the reporting was that it was done. Went ahead, did some designs, worked through it, got it done, had it on hold, went through it on Friday. no answer that it was done. I was like, man, do I want to go ahead and push send on this? And I took a leap of faith, and I went ahead and did it because all the reporting was that it was done. And then the reporting followed up on Saturday about his last training session. So, yes, I did not have news that was happening last week. I was following the reporting like you guys, and I was crossing my fingers.
And you can believe
once we decided
me
to go down this
or
road.
not, but I can vouch for this. We do not get inside intel from Darren about signing.
No, we don't. And honestly, I don't want it because I like to talk about it with you guys as it's happening in this way. I like to react to it in the same way. I don't want secrets. I don't want to have to keep secrets. So
yeah. And I'm a poor secret keeper anyway, so I'm the last person you want to tell.
Yeah, that's for sure. Have not seen anything about the goalkeeper that was linked to this as well.
That was going to be my follow-up question.
Have not seen anything there. Okay, so I'm going to share a couple more tweets as well. I'm going to share these from my account if I can do 20 things at once here as we do a show and produce.
Where's virtual producer Steve?
He's virtual. That's the problem. I'm going to share a little Twitter thread after what I retweeted from Soccer Down Here. So to see a couple highlights, a couple things that jumped out to me that are easily digestible on the Twitters.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I don't want to put too much pressure on him, and I think sometimes we are afraid to talk about players like, ooh, he's really good, because you feel like you're putting pressure on. He's a guy who, you look at Diego Valeri. Was Diego Valeri a massive name coming out of Argentina, coming out of Lanús, by the way? No, he wasn't. Good player, well-respected player, wasn't looked at in that way. He's worked out pretty good, hasn't he? Mm-hmm. Sebastian Blanco worked out pretty good. I really do think that the designated player strategy is going to change with the U22 initiative coming forward, because it's not, we don't know all the details, but it's been discussed as a young designated player, and you can spend on the transfer fee with whatever you want to bring these players in. We'll see if that's accurate. Atlanta's done really well with the young designated player signings. Well, if you got 3 new spots to work with there, your 3 designated player spots, you're changing your strategy. You don't have to go with young emerging players there. You already got a spot for those guys. You can go with a player like this that makes your team better and who could be here for a while. Love him on the dribble. I didn't see it as I was going through his story a little bit. I saw it pop up and didn't get to stop and read it. There we go. Mataflow. I did find it. Thank you, Mataflow. The Gambetta, the word, is believed to originate from the 1950 Uruguayan. He's a left back whose last name was Gambetta, who would dribble past players all the time using his signature bicicleta, the step over, while simultaneously being a key part in the win for Uruguay at the Maracanã in Brazil at the 1950. Wasn't exactly the World Cup final, but because they did a group stage for the Final Four, it ended up being the final because it was the last game and it decided it. Mataflow says that's not it. The term gambateer comes from the word gamba, which means leg, mainly referring to dancing and moving your legs rapidly. To make it, gringo style for us here, it is the dribble. It's kind of a, not just dribbling past somebody, but it's doing it in almost a zigzag kind of fashion. The Gambetta is celebrated. I mean, you can go from Diego Maradona, Lionel Messi, Juan Ramon Riquelme, countless other players. And Moreno's ability in those situations is incredibly high. And he's a player who, again, with that confidence that was given to him by his last manager at Lanús, who said, go and do your thing. Go and play. Go and do that. That's what you do. Go and do it. The potrero term is another important one, I think, in Marcelino's story. Think of, if you want to compare it to an American sport, think of basketball on the blacktop. Think of the 2v2, 3v3 games that people play in the city and out like you used to in the neighborhoods, and you made it up as you went. And you would see players come out of that who were incredible, like one-on-one players, a lot of flair, because they were coached differently, or they weren't coached much at all. They made it up as they went. It's like the playground. The Potrero is still a big factor in the Argentine game, and you look for and value players who have that kind of. It's not a technical ability as much, because it's not static. You have to have high technique to be able to be a player who would survive in the Potreros, because you got to be able to do your thing in the 1v1s. You got to be able to win the dribbles. You have to be good on the ball. But the Potrero style is different. Messi has a strong element of that. Maradona had a strong element of that. I mean, Maradona grew up playing on those kinds of fields in Buenos Aires. Marcelino grew up playing on those kinds of fields in Mendoza. Like you said, I mean, cars coming every hour. They got to stop. They got to get out of the way. Or playing with family and kids in the neighborhood, it gets heated. If you grew up playing sports in the neighborhood, you can relate to that. You're playing, and in this case, you're playing and you're hoping somebody spots you, and you're hoping that somebody gives you that hand to get noticed. And he did, and he had to fight for it. I mean, he was playing in the Mendoza Soccer League at 14. He said he was training with them at 12, training with adults. The little stadium at Palmyra is amazing. It's a beautiful little stadium. I think they just added LED lights so they can do the night games now. But to get there and fight, and that's what probably the Potrero, the blacktop basketball kind of stuff, like that's what it gives you. It gives you that fight. He's not going to be a player who's going to back down. He's not going to be a player who's overwhelmed by coming to MLS. He's not going to be a player who, playing in front of all of you guys, 70,000 strong, hopefully next year. That's not going to intimidate him. I think that's a good player to get. He's going to be able to hit the ground running here. And in terms of fitness, Lanús has been training since early August. They haven't played a game. But match fitness will be a question. General fitness should be pretty good. So once he's eligible, he might be able to start playing and have those opportunities. Pretty cool day. I'm excited to see Moreno get announced. I'm excited to see him get this opportunity. I'm very excited for him, and I'm excited for the club, because I'm with Shiva. He could be a guy who's here for a while. He could be a guy who becomes a central figure in the club. He really could. You look at players and you look at how the reaction is when their time does come to leave, and you kind of get a sense of how they're thought of by their teammates and from the club itself and from the fans. It's been nothing but love for Marcelino since everything broke. And those pictures of his teammates at practice, I think the captain took the picture, if I remember correctly. That tells you, he's a good guy. He's a good teammate. He's going to be good with this group. So I'm excited to see him come in and get to know the group get to know him, and find out the best ways to work together.
Yeah, in the video that I've watched, I've seen the ability to shoot with both feet and really put some velocity behind it when he's trying to put a shot on net. But yeah, the thing that did stick out to me was the quickness, that first step in trying to get around one defender, get through a double team, the imagination that was there, and trying to get out of a situation to continue to work things offensively. But yeah, the quickness for me was what really did stand out.
Yeah, his quickness is legit. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited. Don't get down on him if he tries to dribble somebody and it's taken away from him once or twice. He's going to go 2 or 3 more times, and that's completely fine. I like players like that who have just that kind of devil-may-care attitude when they're on the ball. Now, the thing about him that he gives you, and this is like Miguel, in that he will defend. He will track back and defend. He will fight for the team. He's a different kind of player in that regard, because not every player who is so good on the ball and so good in the 1v1s has that mentality because of different roles they've played throughout their career, just because of how they've been brought up. He's got it. Because, and it stood out to me when he was talking about how he played as a kid, and said this was the same at Palmyra when he started to play there. I mean, he played everywhere. Like, he played all over the field because he was good, and he was a little bit bigger than some of the other boys. But then when he started playing with the adults, it was, okay, right wing, okay, left wing, all right, play up top, all right, play in the midfield. I mean, it was everywhere. So he's not a player who's only played in an attacking role, and that's all he knows. He's played everywhere on the field, probably. When he was moved inside and in more of a deeper role, more of an 8 than a 10, is when he really started to bloom at Lanús. And I think he can play the 10, absolutely. But his version of the 10 would be different. It'd be closer to Miguel's, where he's going to track back, he's going to defend, and he's going to be able to start the counters as well. But he can play high up the field, and he can drift out wide, and he can find those spaces. I mean, two players from the same club, two players who had a lot of the same teaching as they came up in that club, two players with some similarities. They're not the same player. He is not the hashtag replacement, but that's a touchstone for the kind of effort you're going to get, the kind of work rate you're going to get. It's pretty cool.
Let's see. Jake Michaels is in this morning, and he has a question. He says, I know it's impossible to say for sure without knowing financial details, but what would, in quotation marks, it take to buy down Moreno off of his DP title, as in what are the rules and thresholds? Not inferring he's not worthy of the title, just seeing the idea thrown around and was curious.
Yeah, no, it's not a crazy idea. The idea about being worthy of the title, just stop. Who cares? It's a roster designation. It doesn't, I mean, it matters in the sense you only get 3 of them, but yeah, it doesn't mean you're a good player if you have it and a bad player if you don't. That stuff's got to stop. I don't know the details because we don't know the salary. And we don't know exactly because this is a different kind of year in terms of how the transfer fee will be spread out. The transfer fee is spread out over the life of the contract. Generally, when you sign somebody in the middle of the season, it's like this case would be a 5.5-year contract. But you're not signing him in the middle of the season or the middle of the calendar year. You're signing him in September. So is it going to be a 5.25-year contract? Because that'll affect how much it is per year on the cap from the transfer portion. Because the cap hit is the transfer plus his salary. Without knowing the salary, we're totally guessing. The one thing I would say about can he be bought down, I don't know if he can initially, but over time, and this happens every year, that maximum dollar amount for being able to buy somebody down with TAM continues to rise. It's around 1.6 or so this year. It'll go up every season. You've also, some of the rules have changed a little bit where you've got all the other allocation money, that's discretionary TAM. Regular TAM and GAM is just all in allocation money in the cap now. You've kind of separated some of the differentiation of it. So, I mean, if he's just over that threshold and you have enough allocation money, you could buy him down. It's just how you want to negotiate it. He's not going to be way over the TAM threshold. He's going to be over it, I think, initially. But in a year or two, he might be under it. And you could use allocation money separately if you want, if you have enough of it, and you decide you want to go down that road because you want to sign another designated player. I don't think you have to worry about that right now today, but the Barco situation will have an effect, and if Barco is sold, that opens up a spot, and if you decide, and the right player, the right fit comes along, that it's worth it to find the allocation money to buy Marcelino down or to use whatever you can that you already have, it could open up a spot. It's just going to be about how you manipulate the situation.
Nathan Pugh is in this morning. He says, is there anything more annoying than, quote, undisclosed transfer fee?
Somebody's got to go find it. I mean, most clubs, that's worldwide. The problem is in most parts of the world, the agent is leaking that somewhere, or the club is leaking that to the media somewhere. Nothing's being leaked out of Atlanta United. So if somebody can go find it, go for it. But the reports out of Argentina were around $7 million, which, again, Lanús wanted 10 for him in April to go to Atletico Mineiro, and they did not come down off of that release clause. They did here. And as their president said, they've been losing six figures in U.S. dollars every month, and that adds up. And even Lanús, who has been one of the better run clubs financially in Argentina, is not immune to it. So you get an opportunity to do this. You can upgrade your squad. I mean, Lanús can probably go get 2-3 players, with this kind of deal. And it's been really interesting to see the reporting of these kinds of moves in Argentina because of that training compensation for players who came up in a club. And, for Atletico Palmira to make 5 figures off of this deal is a really important thing for the Argentine football economy as a whole. I don't know if you guys saw it. The James Rodriguez deal, Bonfield, which is where he developed, was expecting a payment when he went to Everton. They were expecting to make something out of it. And they inquired with FIFA about it, and they were told that it was a free transfer, so there was no money coming. Now, there's been reports that James is going to donate money to Bonfield to make up that gap because Everton didn't pay a dime for him, which is kind of wild. But he's going to make a donation to Bonfield to make that up, which is very cool. Mm-hmm. Lanús has not said anything directly about the fee, Ricky. It's been reports in Argentina that have said it. It's been pretty consistent, around $7 million is what everybody's saying, and there's a couple reporters at TIC that are pretty well tied into Lanús, I get the sense of, and that's what they've been saying. So that's the ones I'm going by.
Barnabas Prime is in this morning, and separately he says, can you re-summarize how Lopez will play into the Atlanta United roster configuration in 2021? Young money player, TAM, no special designation, wondering how many special, in quotation marks, slots we'll have next season.
I would assume he would go in as one of those U22 initiative, young money, whatever we want to call it, spots. He would fit the bill. We don't know his salary, so it's another one where we don't know exactly what his cap hit would be. Judging from the conversations about putting him on the roster this year, I'm assuming he would be at least a decent salary, so he wouldn't have fit in the supplemental spots right now. So I'm assuming it would be the U22 initiative, which you're supposed to have 3 of. So right now, as the roster would be constructed for next year, looking ahead, in those spots, and only those spots right now, you would have Joseph, Barco, Marcelino as your 3 designated players. You would have Eric Lopez as one of your U22 initiative players, and you would have 2 spots with the U22 initiative that you could use to sign players. That's my understanding of it today. We know that there's talk about Barco being sold. We don't know when that'll happen. That would open up a designated player spot, and by all accounts, there'd be 2 U22 initiative spots. So that's what I know at this point.
At Be Nice 586, B Mildenhall is asking or wondering predictions for the starting lineup once Moreno is fit. # Tuesday Thoughts.
My guess, and this is from watching Lanús matches, and I went back and watched a few here. If you want to go back and watch, and I would recommend it if you have the time, highlight reels are great, but they're highlight reels. Go and watch. One of the last games that Lanús played before the end of the season was against San Lorenzo, and it was a 4-3 game. It's a fun game anyway. But watch him in that match on and off the ball, because you want to get the full picture. And when I've watched games of him to see, I think he's central. I think he is in a number 10 role, and I'm doing air quotes on it because he will drop and he will defend, but he's going to be the player that will drive the attack forward. Lanús played a little bit more of the triangle that we've seen at times here, where it plays more like a 4-1-4-1 with 1 behind 2 central midfielders. He was the central midfielder on the left in front of a number 6, a number 5 in Argentina. I could see that. I could see him in front of 2 more holding midfielders. But I think when you look at Emerson Heinemann, when you look at Mateo Sosetu, I could see one of them paired up with him in front of Eric Remedi or Jeff Lorenowitz. That's the way I kind of see that midfield fitting together. How long it happens, we don't know. But I want to make it clear, and this is something that I don't know if this is true or if this has been followed up on enough. Lanús started training in August in terms of fitness. They have gotten to full training, from my understanding, in Argentina, because they're about to start playing preseason matches. So he has been training fully. They haven't played any matches. They haven't played any preseason matches. But he's been training for over a month. So he's not coming in like Jürgen Damm. He's not coming in like Cubo Torres, where they had not been training. It was all just stuff they did on their own for fitness. He's been training for over a month. That'll help. Does that mean he'll be ready to go day one? No, probably not. But will he come in as a second-half sub at the beginning? Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. And could he start quickly? I think he could. But you're not going to risk him. You're going to check his levels. You're going to make sure everything's good, and you're going to ease him in. But I think he'll be able to hit the ground running a lot quicker than Dom or Cubo Torres, just because of the fitness, just because of the amount of training he's done at Lanús.
Tafka wants to know, are the U22 spots additional senior roster spots, because it seems like 20 is really small?
I don't know. That I don't know. I don't know if they are separate or if they are part of the 20 senior roster spots. I'm guessing they are part of the senior roster spots, just in the way the CBA has been talked about. It would just allow you to... the more I think about it, it's not really that different. All it's doing is allowing you to take 3 senior roster spots that would have been capped before, and you can put players who are under the age of 22 or 22 and under, and I don't know where that line is going to be drawn, in there, and they're not capped outside of, I think, 150,000. So they're capped at a certain amount. So it's not additional spots, and 20 senior roster is supplemented by those 10 up to 10 supplemental spots. So teams are usually carrying between 25 to 30. I don't think they'd add 3 spots completely new. I think it's just 3 spots on your senior roster that would now not be capped, or capped at, they'd be capped at a certain amount. Sorry, that's a better way to put it.
Do you want me to thank somebody before we go back into the timeline for other stuff?
Yeah, one thing, and Uncle, I said it, and I should have said it right then when we were talking about how quickly he can come in. He's not going to play tomorrow. He's not going to play immediately because there is the quarantine period that we talked about initially. 10 days is what's been reported. Some have said 14. There's a lot of confusion over these kinds of policies worldwide, definitely in this country, but 10 is what I've seen reported that MLS requires. Along with the testing, like we've seen Gonzalo Higuain train separately in Miami. I would assume that'd be the same thing here. So once he's here, he will have to train separately for whatever that period of time is. He'll have to test negative, all the things to be able to join the roster, and then he will join the roster. And from there, it will probably be off the bench first and then into the starting lineup. But I think that process will be quick. It'll be quicker than Jürgen Damm, in my opinion. That's my guess at this point. Before we get back into the questions, because I know y'all have them, keep throwing them at us. Let's hear from John about our good friend Steve Apolinsky.
Apolinsky & Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network for wrongful death and serious injury matters. If this is a conversation that you need to have, a couple different ways that you can catch up with Steve and Steve Apolinsky & Associates. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve at aa-legal.com. You can get a free consultation by giving him a call at 404-377-9191, or you can just go straight to the website, aa-legal.com, hit return or enter, whatever your favorite button is to advance. Pop-up window pops up lower right-hand corner, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter, and you can have a conversation right then and there. Could be after our show is over. Could be before our show comes on. Could be at 3 o'clock in the morning. Whenever you want to have that conversation on the pop-up window, you can certainly do that. So, over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama, wrongful death and serious injury matters, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend Magazine, top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. The website for Apolinsky & Associates, LLC is aa-legal.com.
You got all out of whack there on the timing, didn't you?
Well, once again, I tried to do it too quick, and then I did it too quick, and I was waiting for the end of the stanza, and it's like, where is it?
You missed the spot.
I did.
Clayton Poss said, and Carlos Bocanegra is speaking to the media right now, that he'll be training in 2 to 3 weeks, I'm assuming with the team. Depends on how quick he can get into the country as well. So I'll look to get a little more clarification on that. Mike Conti tweeted that Marcelino Moreno's visa appointment is sorted out, followed by a 10-day quarantine, so they hope to get him up and running in 2 to 3 weeks. And Clayton, I'm assuming, and I'm judging from Mike's tweet, that this is to join the team, to be with team training. Like, he'll be training, and he comes in with a good base of fitness, as Mike says, and as I've said here. So he could be with the team and match training in 2 to 3 weeks. That's the way I take it. So I don't take it as he won't play this year at all. He will definitely play this year. I'd be shocked if he didn't play this year. With a visa, being sorted out, that's going to be the only thing that holds it up. And hopefully it doesn't hold it up very long, because I don't think there's a lot of people going through the visa process right now. So hopefully it'll move forward. Mike also just tweeted that Bocanegra says they've narrowed down their candidates in their coaching search. It's tracking well, but he's not saying anything else publicly.
Tafka. Okay, the story has me sold. I think that kind of heart, determination, and humility is what this club needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I want to get a little more clarification here, because I'm seeing it reported different ways, and I'll try to get this nailed down. I don't know if he is joining in, if he's going to be here in 2 weeks, or if he's going to start the process in 2 weeks, or if he's going to be part of the team training in 2 weeks. This is a little confusing. I'm also hearing it second and third hand, so we'll try to clarify before we're done. Other news, and this is not good news, Carlos Bocanegra said that Cubo Torres has a knee sprain and will miss the rest of the regular season. That's not good. Adam John will be the guy up top. It opens up maybe another possibility for Manuel Castro to impress, because there's not another option up there right now. You could look into the trade market if you want to, depending on what's available. But, yeah, no Cubo Torres the rest of the year. Really bad timing for Cubo, who I felt like was starting to get it together a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. It looked like he was starting to get into a rhythm, and from my perspective, expletive deleted. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2020 for you.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
What else we got on the Twitters as we are reacting to everything in real time?
Yeah, everyone, we're caught up on our Marcelino comments. We do have some stuff pre-Marcelino from this morning.
Well, we're talking about Marcelino, so.
Right. So when we get back to other stuff away from Marcelino, we'll get into that. But we're caught up on our Marcelino stuff on Twitter.
Okay. JP Vita says, could we bring Lopez in? You'd have to get an international slot, and you're not going to be able to use an injury replacement thing here, because Kubo was the injury replacement, which is just completely fitting here. So I don't think you could use an injury replacement. Maybe, who knows? I don't think so. I don't know how you could. Man, you'd have to get an international slot, and you'd probably have to clear a roster spot. So, could you do? I mean, we're really spitballing at this point. Could you? A lot of it depends on the transfer too. The terms of the transfer from Olympia. Could you add him to the first team right now and then make whatever move you got to make to add Moreno to the first team when he is eligible? I think so, but that's a lot of maneuvering. You're going to have to maneuver to add both of them. There's just no other way around it. Ricky says bring J.J. Williams back. That's a possibility. He also points out that Jordi Reyna and Kai Kamara were both traded. What other strikers could be available? You can start to look around. There could be. Te'ise is now talking about Marcelino Moreno. Right now, they're showing the Atlanta United video that they posted. Clayton, I don't remember all the terms of the season-ending injury list. That's the problem. I know it sounds great, but I don't know if he meets the requirements of it. Why don't we look while we're killing time and seeing what's going on here? I don't think he meets it, but we will see. And who knows? Maybe they'll make some new rules and dispensation. Scrolling down to find it and hoping that I don't miss it because there are lots of rules and things in here. There's a lot of MLS rules and a lot of complicated ones. Okay. Season-ending injury list. If a player suffers a season-ending injury, a club may place that injured player on the season-ending injury list and receive roster relief, an open roster spot. Once placed on the season-ending injury list, they will not be eligible. Okay, it's a little bit different than I thought. I was thinking more of the replacement player side of it, which this is the part that came up with Kubos, and I don't know if it necessarily has to unless you need the cap relief, because there's the injury list is one thing. If you need cap relief, then there's some requirements on if Lopez fits that. That's where my head was. Okay, now I understand it a little bit better. Oh, well, no, never mind. You're allowed to sign one replacement player per season. You already did, and it was Kubo. So he could be put on the list. That would open up the spot. That would open up the international slot. You would have to be able to fit him under the cap, and that's the part we don't know. It does open the roster spot. It would open the international slot because he's not on the roster. So that part is accurate. But we don't know if you could fit him under the cap because you can't sign Lopez as a replacement player. You've already done that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Ricky says break the Jackson Conway glass maybe, which anything's possible. I'm not going to lie. Anything's possible at this point because you are in a very difficult spot because people keep getting hurt, and especially in the same position. So I don't know if you could pay his salary in Chick-fil-A, although it's a good idea, Uncle. I kind of like it. The twos, he would be a player that Stephen Glass knows very well. Mm-hmm. Yes, Conway could keep his shirt on. Man, people are killing this poor kid for that. He was happy about a situation that worked out because it was a play they had worked on. He lost his head, and he got punished for it. Jackson Conway is what?
And he felt, and he absolutely knew it, and you just had to look at him sitting absolutely despondent after the fact.
Yeah. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Lay off a kid.
Let it ride.
He made a mistake. He got punished. He's had some injury issues now. That's my question, is he's had a foot injury. But he's healthy right now. He'll be playing for the twos tomorrow night. John and Jess will be on the call for that one while Mike and I are on the call for Atlanta United. It's a possibility. I mean, he could fit into one of those supplemental spots. He doesn't need an international slot. That is accurate. I know, JP. I know. It's not so much you. There's some other people who've been really crushing our boy Jackson on that, and it's a little harsh. It'd be interesting to see. I like Jackson Conway. I like the development he's had over the last couple of years. He's grown. He's a big boy. He's got good feet. He can combine well with others. He's deceptively fast for his size. I think he's trending towards being an MLS signing anyway. But do you want to put that on him now? You might have to. Who knows? Maybe the conversation is, hey, Jackson, this is the opportunity that's in front of you. You got a game tomorrow night. What are you going to show us?
Yep.
We'll see. You might see a very motivated Jackson Conway tomorrow night. He would fit into the roster. That part would be easy because you have supplemental spots that you could fit him in. You could sign him as a homegrown. All that's there. You could absolutely make it work. I don't believe you could sign... Well, Mackey's injured, so you couldn't do that anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I don't believe you could sign him because I think he would need an international slot. Jackson would not. Philip Goodrum would not as well. So those are two possibilities that are with the twos. Jackson, I think, would be more MLS ready. I really do. So that's a possibility, too. It stinks. It stinks all the way around.
7:30 will be the time for keeping an eye on the Atlanta United 2 and their game against New York Red Bulls 2 at the Fraction. 7:30 kickoff, about 7:36 on ESPN+.
No immediate plans per Bocanegra to add anyone to the roster after the Cubo Torres injury. I'm sure they will be looking. And one other update from Mike, Moreno will probably wear number 10 for Atlanta United. He said that's because there's not a lot of numbers available, and that's the number. And he wore the number at Lanús, but that number does come with some extra weight, and that's a fact. It was a number that Miguel Almiron kind of made here in Atlanta, and it was a number that people put expectations on Pity Martinez because of the number he had on his back and the awards he had won. And at times that was heavy, and at times it wasn't. Moreno, I think, will be fine with it. I'm not worried about him there. I guess the narrative's already underway that he's going to have all this pressure on him because of a number on his back. He will have pressure on him because he's a big signing, and I think he's a player who can live up to that.
No, and I'm trying to see if we have anybody else here on, let's see, five takes on the five stripes with the Kubo news. He says, whack-a-mole just continues this season. We just cannot catch a break. We start looking good, then a player gets an injury and is out for the season. 2020 is ridiculous.
Yep. It is. I mean, it's a knee sprain, so it's not something from overuse in this case, or the amount of games in a short period of time. It's just incredibly frustrating because you're trying to piece together a team, and things just happen every match. Whether it's a minor injury in training, like with Ezequiel Barco over the weekend, Jurgen Damm with a hamstring, Kubo Torres now with a knee sprain. I mean, it is just something every single time, and it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah, Tafka says, and 2020 strikes again. Just ride with what we have. This season's such a catastrophe of events. Just get through it. Don't burn assets trying to save it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's when I say look at what options are out there. I think you will, and if there's a good deal, you make a good deal, but you're not going to sacrifice long-term for right now because of this. You can't. I mean, you got to be smart about the long-term. Jackson Conway's a different conversation if they feel like, and they're not going to do it out of just, we need him right now either. If they feel like he is ready and trending in that direction, do you accelerate something that you've planned on? Maybe. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes in that. There's a lot of stuff in training especially. You're looking for guys with the twos. You're looking for guys who are going to sign out of the academy to be able to make that step and be able to handle it. And that's going to be the stuff that we don't see every day. We don't see how he is in training. We don't see how he is with the guys. Jackson is an emerging player. It'd be a big step to come in and start playing a lot of MLS minutes straight away. It would. But who knows? I mean, Adam John's got the spot now, and it's all his, and you've got to find the best ways to get things out of him. And he's been delivering. I mean, he's a guy who has gotten a goal late in a match. He's a guy who's created a goal for George Bello. You want him to get more, and you got to feed him more, and you got to keep finding these crosses for him and finding these opportunities for him. But he can combine a little bit too. I think he can make the group around him better, and now that he's the guy, then you're going to get to know him a little bit more as a player on the field. The teammates are. Felipe tweeted this, Felipe Cardenas of The Athletic. Carlos Bocanegra mentioned anger, frustration, and accountability when addressing the club's form. He said the finger can be pointed at him and that criticism is normal, and it is. So I don't know where this whole thing about not being allowed to criticize the team came up, because it just doesn't make any sense, and nobody ever said it. They think they're better than their record is. They should think that, because if you don't think you're very good, then you're not going to win much, period. Even if you're not winning, you need to think that you are good enough to be winning a bunch of games. That's soccer. that's pro sports. That's life. Couple other things on the Twitch pitch as we get caught up. Let's see. Mizano says, I think the lack of goals from John has more to do with how the balls are played inside than John's ability. When a dangerous ball was played where he can use his size, he put it in the net. We have to get players to play the ball in the right way. I think you have to get players just to trust him. And I would think that he's earned that at this point with what we've seen on the field, because it's not even just scoring goals. The assist, the work from him on the goal for Bello was top-notch. Mm-hmm. So it's not just feeding him for shots. It's just using him in the build-up, just using him to play and create opportunities. He can give you that. And his movement's good, and his speed is pretty good, actually. I mean, he'll make runs off the ball. He'll get open off the ball. to give either space for a ball played into him or to create space for somebody else to make a play. So just utilize him at this point, and just let him play. I mean, at this point, I think it's just let him play, and he's not just a big target. He's more than that. He's impressed me with his minutes over the last week and a half or so. He's impressed me. Let him go. Let him play his game, and hopefully you'll find some more out of it. Maybe it takes a little bit of the pressure off because he knows that, look, it's my spot right now.
Also, quickly on the board, Tafka talking about Lopez. I seriously doubt Lopez's salary was too outrageous. If we've discussed, he has only played 16 pro matches, 200 to 300 max. He may be a great prospect, but he's still a prospect. That kind of room should be in the cap, I would think.
Sorry, go back on that?
Sure. I seriously doubt.
Who said this?
Tafka.
Okay.
I seriously doubt that Lopez's salary was too outrageous. As we've discussed, he's only played 16 pro matches, 200 to 300,000 max. He may be a great prospect, but he's still a prospect. That kind of room should be in the cap, I would think.
Transfer fee. The transfer fee is part of the cap hit. And wasn't the transfer fee reported at, it was multi-million.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going to bump it up. I mean, we don't know what's in the cap. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we can say there should be, but we have no idea. Nobody knows because you don't know how much allocation money teams have. You don't know how much they've used here or where they've used this. We're all guessing on it. But the transfer fee part of it would factor in for sure on him. So, and I don't know how any of that deal was structured. I don't know how any of that worked because it's all unknown. That's one of the hard things about MLS and can guys fit on a roster. There's a lot of guessing. There's a whole lot of guessing. We know the international slots. That part we know. We know who's a designated player. We know who's a senior roster guy. We know who's a supplemental roster guy. The actual amounts, even when we get the salaries, which we have not seen this year, no way to know. We're all guessing. So I don't know if that's true or not. Walchara is explain Walchara in the chat. I don't understand. Uncle No Pockets talking about Adam Johnson. How many shots did John take against Miami on Saturday? They can't put him in dangerous positions. That's on him. They're not playing him a lot is one thing I've noticed. It felt like Cubo Torres immediately blended in quicker with the group, and John has not. I mean, I look back at his minutes in the MLS's back tournament, and at times it feels like they're not using him in the build-up where they were using Kubo. I think he can be effective in the build-up phase. I think he can help get them into the final third. It's a little of both. I mean, John has to get used to the runs that players are looking for out of him, and they have to recognize the runs that he is making, that they can use him more. So it's both. He's a different player than they've had in that position, but I don't think he's that different the more I see of him. He's not as fast as a Joseph, for sure. He's not as fast as some other guys, but he is a player who can combine. You can give him touches in the middle third, and he can find teammates and play there to get into the final third better, because so often it's been just skipping the forward, getting into the final third, and it's been trying to find the space out wide or getting to the final third and backing up because there's no space because teams drop deep, and he's not used in that spot. Use him to help play you into the final third. Play a 1-2 with him. Let him make a run and either play him in or take the space that he left. It's just got to be used a little bit better, in my opinion. Mezzano says, I hate watching play get up to the touchline on the wings. The ball gets played back and rolls up across the 18 in the middle of the field, and no one's around to collect shoot. This was basic soccer stuff I learned in U10s. How is this not corrected at the high level? It's not that, because it's not just something from the U10s. You're focused on multiple things here at once. Mezzano's talking about the ball's played down into the corner, played back, and played across the top of the 18. That's a move that Atlanta United scored a lot of goals off of. One thing you're not seeing right now is the runs to get on the end of that ball. That's not happening. You're also seeing a team that when they have missed on that cross, be poor in transition to defense. And I think that's preventing some of the runs to be made. It's not just isolated, like nobody got the cross. It's that's the one thing. I think there's a bigger thing in mind here about the rotations and the movement off the ball, and also the ability to be ready to transition to defense. there's been a lot of talk about defending with this team. Set pieces we're going to put to the side because that's a different issue. The transition to defense has been my issue with the defending. It's not just, if the opponent's got the ball and they're attacking you, defense is fine. I don't have problems with the defense in that situation. The transition moments, and that's in that middle third, is where you're creating some bad opportunities for your backline to have to deal with. That's got to get better. And if that is then affecting players making the run into the final third to get on the end of the cross, then it's affecting two sides of the game. And I don't know what that is at this point. I don't know if it's the players. I don't know if it's the fitness. I don't know if it's the trust in the teammates around them. I don't know what's blocking it. But that's got to change because you've got to make that run to get on the end of that cross because it's an effective way to play, to pull that cross back from time to time to the top of the 18. But you can't give up the transition moment if you don't get on it. You've got to be able to defend it if you do miss out on that opportunity. And right now it just feels like you're stuck in between and not making either side of it work well. It's frustrating. Walchara asking about Moreno says, what kind of system is he best suited? Is there a chance Atlanta United is going to change from a possession team to a pressing or a counterattacking team? I don't think Atlanta United will ever be a team that's purely a pressing team. And I want to, I guess, go into a little more detail on that. A purely pressing team is like the Red Bulls. They don't want the ball. They don't want possession. You look at them consistently, and it's like 40% possession. They don't want possession. They want to play the ball into the other half, and they want to win it back and create an opportunity in transition in the attacking half. That's what they want. That's how they play. Atlanta doesn't want that. You've got too many players who you want on the ball. Can you be a team that has possession and has a counter press? Yes, and you need to. And that's been one of the missing elements since the start of 2019. It was missing at times in 2018 as well, as Atlanta went to more of a possession team. Look back at the great Barcelona teams. When they lost possession, they immediately tried to win it back. If they didn't immediately win it back, then they dropped in and they played. They organized. The possession was to keep them organized, to give them that opportunity, because it put numbers around the ball. It also kept the team in shape. It felt like in 2019 and into 2020, it became too much of a focus to keep the shape via possession and not enough to win the ball back when you lost possession. You've got to have that element to it. You've got to be able to transition quickly. So it's a little different than a counter-attacking team, Walchara, when the way I'll put it anyway. A counter-attacking team to me is one that sits deep, defends deep, doesn't try to win possession and keep it, and then tries to attack quickly when they do win it from a deep position. Will that happen at times? Yeah, because that's just the way games flow. Will that be what Atlanta wants to do in its attack? No. I don't think they will be a team that wants to sit deep. Where Atlanta can be, in my opinion, is a team that dominates possession. Look at Leeds. Look at San Jose when they're both playing well. Those are teams that are high energy. They do press more than I think Atlanta will, but they dominate possession because they dominate the game. Atlanta United wants to be a team that dominates the game. They're going to be more in the Barcelona, Pep Guardiola style and variants of that, the Dutch style. I know, don't freak out. They're going to be in that more because they want the ball. They want to use the ball to dominate the game, not use the press to dominate the game, use the ball to dominate the game. They want to be in a position to win it back quickly, and they want to be organized. And that, like, none of that's out of line. Like, that all, it makes sense, and top teams in the world play that way. Liverpool's edging to more of that style of play, actually, right now. Thiago gives them that ability. And I know the plucky upstarts are very excited about adding Thiago, but he gives them the ability to slow the game down a little bit more and play and be organized and not have to create things off of a press. Liverpool's evolved from when Klopp took over day one to now to be a team that's far more comfortable with the ball and can create chances through their work with the ball as opposed to using the press or the counter press as their playmaker. Atlanta will be more in that vein of a team that creates opportunities with the ball. They won't be purely counterattack. They won't be purely press. there are elements of both in what they want to do, but they will be a team that wants possession, period. And they're going to try to use that possession to create these 1v1 opportunities for Marcelino Moreno. That's going to be important in the way they're going to attack. You want to give him those opportunities to win a 1v1 and go to goal to either score himself or to create for others. He will give the team that line that stood out to me from some of the articles about him, destabilizing. His play destabilizes the opponent because of what he can do on the ball. That, as we've seen with Barco gets double-teamed a lot right now. You can't destabilize much if you're getting two. You've got to then find a quick pass, or you got to have a run to give you a quick pass. I think it's a little bit of both. Barco's having a problem finding the open man. Moreno will come in, and immediately, if teams want to continue to double-team Barco and not do their homework, Moreno will win 1v1s, and then he will destabilize. The team will fall apart. Then teams will say, well, I can't double-team Barco. I can't leave Moreno open. So now I've got to sit back a little bit more. That's going to create more space out in front, and you're going to be able to run at these teams and create gaps. That's what Moreno is going to have to do to help this go.
El Mataflo is in, and he's asking for thoughts on Gallagher playing as a forward if Barco is back in the lineup. Unrelated, Barco thought. Back in Brazil or the South Africa World Cup qualification, Ecuador's coach said it was difficult to build a team around a winger versus someone in the spine of the team. Of course, Barco and Valencia have almost nothing in common, especially their playing style, so there could be nothing to it.
It can be tough to build a team around a winger if they're a true winger. And Barco is a 10 playing wide, which happens a lot. You do see that, I think, more often now than you used to. I mean, you used to, that kind of player, they played as the 10, no questions asked. You put three guys around them. The Argentine way, still you see a lot of teams play this way, is like a 4-3-1-2. It's not a true diamond. It's far more of 4 defenders, 3 central midfielders, your number 10, and 2 forwards. And it's very fluid, but that's the way you shape to protect your number 10. Now, you've got some teams that have gone away from that. That's not as common. Teams don't want to sacrifice as much for one player. I get it. That's where the game's going. The last number 10 is what they called Juan Roman Riquelme. The last true number 10. That's not accurate. There's more sense. Barco's got some of that in him. But what you're seeing far more often now is you're putting that player out wide. You're not asking them to always be a winger in terms of defending and come back and defend, but you're giving them the ability to start from wide and come inside. So that's a little bit of Barco's game. Could you see Gallagher up top? You could. He's very different because he's not going to give you much of an aerial presence, but he's going to give you speed up top. And I think that was the idea with Manuel Castro, getting that opportunity in the MLS's back tournament and the things that Frank de Boer said about him. I think he'll get a look as a possibility there. I think Adam John's the guy. I think John Gallagher will be in the team. I mean, you dig into not just the goal that he got, but you dig into the numbers a little bit more. He's been really effective. I want to see him play more. And you're going to find a spot. And if that means Brooks Lennon is out right now because Gallagher's in a better run of form, okay. If that means for now, until Moreno's available, you're going to play Barco centrally and play Gallagher on one side, okay. You're going to find the way to make it work. But Gallagher has been too effective to take off the pitch right now.
Shiva says, I like what Et Nicolifi said yesterday on Soccer Over There. This club has ambition. It wants to win big things, not just MLS Cup. They'll get it together. Be happy to be a fan of a big club with big ambitions.
Yeah, I mean, this is a club that's not just going to sit back and say, woe is me. This is a bold move. I mean, it's a good expenditure for a player, and it's a player who's worth that expenditure. I mean, like I said, you go through everything on him. He's gotten better year after year after year at Lanús. He is a tried and true pro. He's going to be able to come in and hit the ground running in terms of being able to adjust. Players from this club have done very well in Major League Soccer. So he's going to be fine. And he didn't come cheap. So when things aren't right, they're going to try to fix it. That's a good place to be. I mean, go ask a Colorado Rapids fan how they feel. Go ask a Crystal Palace fan how they feel. There's plenty of clubs that just don't have the ambition, and when things don't go well, it's like, oh well, there's nothing we can do. That's not going to be the case here, and that's pretty exciting. Couple of other things from the Twitch pitch as we get caught up on a very busy day. Abby wanted to remind everybody, and I would like to remind everybody as well, about trivia on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Conti's got some questions for you. I've got some questions for you. It is a fundraiser for soccer in the streets. You can donate any amount to play. Abby has shared the links in the Twitch pitch. It is also available on my timeline and at Soccer Streets, which you should be following if you are not. Any donation gets you into play, and what they're doing right now, since it's not really easy to do a lot of soccer sessions for kids, they are making sure that the kids in the program are getting meals delivered to home, and they're partnering with some great organizations on the west side of Atlanta to do that. So these funds are helping them do that and keep that contact with these kids and keep them well fed. Kids not in school, they got to get fed one way or another. So Soccer in the Streets is stepping up to help with that. We're stepping up to help them help with that. So you sign up for trivia at the link. You make a donation, whatever you can afford. And then you play some trivia with us. And you see if you can beat Roberto Rojas, because he keeps winning. On the last question the first two times. But he's won both of them. We'll see if he can do the trifecta of wins. There's also, according to Abby, another fundraiser. And this one's pretty cool as well. Project Goal, which is a great organization in New England. Michael Parkhurst, Julian Gressel are working on this, along with Scott Caldwell from the Revs. They are building a mini pitch in Central Falls, Rhode Island. And I know I've retweeted it. Michael Parkhurst has shared it on his Twitter, on his Instagram. It's in the Twitch pitch as well. Another great initiative. So one thing that I love about the soccer community is that people try to help others. It is a true community. And, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Find the ones that matter to you, that mean something to you, and jump in. Because there are lots of organizations, lots of initiatives that do need some help right now. Other things from the Twitch pitch. Pacine says, seems that by playing a high line, this is from the opposition, John can be completely neutralized. He isn't dribbling past anyone. If we can't penetrate further up the field to drag the defense back, we can't get the most from him. I also think the one way, if they are going to play the high line and it's tough, is play him at the beginning and play off of him. Play the 1-2 with him. Play the wall pass with him. Play him there to draw out a defender to create a little bit of space. You've got to find those. And those combinations that Atlanta United has used so well over the years, they're not happening enough right now. That quick combination play is not happening. John can do that. He can give you that. You've just got to use him in those spots to open up those spaces when teams play a high line. He's different than Joseph in that Joseph can get behind the high line and run in. John's not going to do that. So you got to use him differently, and they've got to adjust to that. They should have by now. I think the idea with the MLS's back tournament to play Manuel Castro there got everything out of whack. And that was my biggest criticism of Frank de Boer's planning for that tournament was you didn't solve the forward problem going into it. And then you didn't trust the solution that you came up with because it changed immediately in the next match. It set everything back, and you got to get past that now. You've got to play the right group, and you've got to play the best group forward going forward. Strummer John, am I off base here, but haven't the stupid mistakes in the back third that have occurred recently coincided with Meza being absent? Do you think him coming back will take care of those issues? I think it could. That's a good point. The stupid mistakes have been more on set pieces, but his leadership is important there too. The disorganization at times in transition, I think he will help for sure. A veteran presence will be important. That's been another big miss with injuries. I mean, we talked about it with Joseph, now with Cupo Torres. Fernando Meza's played 6 games. He's brought here to be a starter and play next to Miles Robinson the whole season. He's played 6 games. That hurts because it's taken him longer. I mean, he hasn't been able to adjust to MLS and the team and fit in because he hasn't been playing. You got to get him healthy if you can and get him back in there because that will help. That's a really good point, Strummer John. Mogi Mo, what have you thought about Heinemann and Hosetu? Heinemann hasn't seemed the same since COVID. I like Hosetu on the ball, but I haven't seen him be dangerous in the final third. I like them both as players. I think they're both good players. I agree. Both have not been dangerous. Both have been solid. And Hosetu, I think paired up with somebody like Moreno, Josetu could be really effective. He is not a true number 10. He is more of a pure 8 to me. Good on the ball in tight spaces. He's not Darlington Nagbe. He's not the hashtag Nagbe replacement. Don't do the hashtag replacement thing anymore.
Hashtag replacement.
No, he is him. He is Mateus Josetu, but he has elements of Nagbe's game and being good on the ball, being very technical, being a good passer. He doesn't give the ball away cheaply. And if you give him somebody centrally to play with, like Moreno, it could be a good fit. It could be a good fit. Now, you got to get those two blended. You got to get those two on the same page. If you can, I think that could unlock Josetu a little bit. And what does that do for Heinemann? I don't know. Heinemann can play with Moreno. Heinemann, I think, has shown he can play with Remedi. He did early in the season and played there well in a deeper role. Could he be a player who could play up higher with Moreno? And then what does that do for Josetu? That's what you're trying to figure out now. You're getting talent in, and you've got to see how it settles, and you've got to see what the best combination is, and then adjust from there. I think both are solid, but you need more from them right now. Moreno will take some of that load off, but it'll also take a spot from one of them. So you really need more from Heinemann and Josetu right now if they want to keep a spot on the field.
Well, and at the same time, you look at schedule compression. You're going to need all these bodies. You don't know what... and you're looking at it game by game. You're having to think 2 games down the line. It's like, well, if I need so-and-so here, I need to make sure that his minutes are managed for this game. And so it's having all of these pieces. It's a good thing to have, just provided everyone's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a lot of games. You're going to have a lot of stuff to deal with for sure. And you're going to need a deep squad. You're going to need a deep squad anytime in MLS, but you're going to need a deep squad right now as best as possible, and it creates opportunities for players. Getting caught up on the Twitch pitch with Mo stuff because there's lots of things. Luis Suarez is very upset about the way Barcelona has handled this transfer. They had the deal for him to go to Atleti, and then the president Bartomeu stepped in and said no. There was some talk that he might have a press conference to trash everybody, which I can't say I would necessarily blame him at this point if he did. That has not happened as of yet, so we will see. He's not going to be happy. We are not going another hour, Captain.
No.
It is not happening. We will have the run-up tonight.
Yes.
And we will talk about these moves, and we will talk about the match tomorrow, because there is a match tomorrow against Dallas, which will be a tough opponent. Okay. Mataflo is very happy that Ryan Catanese is drinking the Miguel Angel Ramirez Kool-Aid from Independiente del Valle. I did see that. I'm on the Independiente del Valle train. I'm definitely there. What they're doing is impressive. He would be a different kind of hire than not just an MLS club has done. He'd be a different kind of hire than Atlanta has done because he's not a big name. But he's delivered. He's delivered in a big way for that club. So, Monteflo, keep growing the cult. Keep it up. Keep spreading the Kool-Aid. Let's see. What else has happened that we need to discuss before we wrap up? What else on Twitter that was not Marcelino related?
Swickster just saw the note yesterday from Leicester with the signing of Under.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Undertaker responding in kind, digging holes and scoring goals, and the Swickster was quite excited about that.
Yeah, that was very cool. Teams are having to get creative with this stuff right now. I mean, it's really hard to do some of these because you can't do a whole lot at the moment in terms of filming players and doing things. That was a good one. That was a really good one. The Saudi Arabian for Pitti is still the best I've seen in a while. I don't know why anybody would have hated that. That thing was bonkers.
Yeah.
What else?
Speaking of which, I have it right here. I'm just going to show it real quick. There it is. There's your El Nasser kit, the third kit from last year. So it's still here. That's not going anywhere anytime soon. Tafka on Lopez. He says Lopez is on loan from Atlanta United 2 this season. Doesn't that prevent it from hitting the cap?
He's on loan to Atlanta United 2 is the way it was announced, which would, again, make it more difficult to go to the first team because he's on loan to one, and that's why the whole thing's been complicated. And I wish I knew more details. I don't. I don't know how it was structured. I don't know how it can go. He would not be off the cap because he'd have to join the first team roster. You can't be on the second team roster and then be loaned to the first team just in perpetuity. That's not how it works. You have limitations. There's no emergency replacement situation here because you have plenty of players who are healthy, even though you do have a lot of injuries. So you're not going to be able to get him off the cap, and I'm assuming that you couldn't get him into one of those supplemental spots, which would have been separate from the cap, so because you would have done that already. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you make it fit. I don't understand the move as a whole, but there's a lot about MLS moves that I don't understand, and that's something they need to clean up and get better. They need to get better with this.
Yep. We've got the 6 matchups in Copa Libertadores. We've got juice boxes for that. Bartimus Prime says, tell CONCACAF to play the 2021 Gold Cup final in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. Thanks.
I like it. Let's do it. Start the campaign. You can start a cult, too. Use Kool-Aid.
Must go down hard. We'll do it in Las Vegas.
Sure, that works. It looks like the Tottenham match has been called off now with Leyton Orient. That is definite. Sky Sports has that. Tottenham paid for the testing because Leyton Orient has not started playing yet. Accurate? Is that right?
Yes.
When did they start playing?
Leyton Orient, efforting.
League 2?
So, wait, no. League 2, I think that's the beginning of the month, but let me check real quick.
Leyton Orient drew 2-2 against Mansfield on Saturday, but I don't know if that was a league game or not. I think it was. So EFL clubs no longer have to conduct mandatory tests on their players and staff for coronavirus on a weekly basis this season. What? Sky Sports has this. If that's the case, what are you doing? EFL clubs, I'm reading it straight from Sky. EFL clubs no longer have to conduct mandatory tests on their players and staff for coronavirus on a weekly basis this season, as is still the case in the Premier League. That's genius. Good job, EFL.
Seriously?
That's what Sky Sports is reporting. Tottenham paid for the testing. And they had a number of players test positive. And I was trying to see how many, but it doesn't say. The EFL's not doing mandatory testing. That's unbelievable if that's what it is. Unfrickin' believable.
League 2, League 1, and the Championship all came in together 2 weeks ago.
Okay, well, they should test, and if they're not going to do it, that's stupid. So both Plymouth Argyle, who Orient beat in round 2 of the Carabao Cup, and Mansfield, who they played on Saturday, have issued statements on Monday saying they will take an additional round of testing as a precaution. Now, again, you have not had any positive tests result from a game.
Right.
So they're going to do it as a precaution. Those have always come back negative. We'll see if something happens here, because it could be something different than just happened in the game. If a player is just hanging around with an opposing player after the game, whatever, there are things that can happen. But it's not good for your staff. It's not good for your team. It's not good for spreading a virus. That's just not smart. I'm blown away by that by the EFL. Pedro Coates, Ricky Ricardo's reporting from Golazo, Argentina, is going to be on Extra Time on Thursday to talk about Moreno. That's a good get. He's a really good follow. Highly recommend following Golazo, Argentina, and everything they do. Ricky wants to circle back to CONCACAF League.
Got those matchups.
What do we have in CONCACAF League? We have the preliminary draw and then the first round.
Yep, tournament set to kick off October 20. 12 clubs participating in the preliminary round have been divided into 6 pairings. Managua is at CDFAS in El Salvador. Cibao from the Dominican Republic is at Alajuelense. Forge FC from Hamilton is at CD Municipal Limeño in El Salvador. Antigua from Guatemala is at CA Independiente in Panama. Verdes FC from Belize is going to play Arcaje FC from Haiti. Comunicaciones is playing Motagua in Honduras. They'll be played October 20 through 22 as single-game ties at the highest-ranked club's stadium. And then the 10 clubs seeded into the round of 16, plus the 6 preliminary round winners, 8 pairings, and those matchups have been put out as well.
Okay. Anything stand out to you about the CONCACAF League?
Saprissa at home, Marathon at home, Tauro, Waterhouse, Alianza versus either Motagua or Comunicaciones in the round of 16. I think that one will be fun. Alajuelense at San Francisco. So it looks like a lot of the same dance partners, but to me the matchup in the round of 16 would be Alianza hosting either Motagua or Comunicaciones.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. They're doing it different because obviously the pandemic. They're not doing the group stage like they usually do, so it's all straight knockout stuff. It's the best they can do to get this competition underway. 6 teams go into the CONCACAF Champions League next year from this. Is that correct?
Efforting.
The final 4 plus the 2 highest ranked quarterfinal losers that get to that point. So 6 of the final 8 will go. That was what it was last year, so confirm that hasn't changed.
I will.
Let's get into Copa Libertadores tonight. You can watch on Fanatis. You can watch on BN Sports. If you don't have Fanatis, and a bunch of you guys have either done trials or signed up for Fanatis since we started affiliating with them, thank you for that. That's awesome. I hope you're enjoying it. fntz.co/soccer down here. That's our affiliate link. They have a great offer right now. I think it might still be active this morning. Double check it to get the Brasileiro pack and the basic pack for a special price. fntz.co/soccer down here. You want Libertadores tonight on all the BN networks? You got it. You want the Ecuadorian League on Goal TV? You got it. You want the Colombian League? You got it. You want these Argentine friendlies that are going to happen? I'm assuming they'll have them. Whatever's available on TV, they're going to put them up. And you'll have the Argentine competition. When it gets started, you've got all kinds of stuff. You've got the Guatemalan League on Tigo Sports, which is fun to watch. So, Fanatis tonight is where I will be parked. You've got 6 games tonight.
Yes.
3 at 6:15 and 3 at 8:30. The 6:15 games. Barcelona is hosting Flamengo, Barcelona of Ecuador. Flamengo has a massive problem with positive coronavirus tests. They have sent in some young players from their academy to fill some spots. They weren't able to train because of a volcanic eruption in Ecuador on Sunday. They have not played since they were thrashed 5-0 by Independiente del Valle. This is a big game with a lot of pressure on Dome Torrent with Flamengo, and they are not going to be anywhere near full strength. It's at 6:15. What are the juice boxes?
Barcelona plus 159, Flamengo plus 163, and your draw plus 241.
The Barcelona number's come down a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, the Flamengo was that has flipped basically since yesterday.
I thought that did. It's still not a bad number. Barcelona needs the win in a bad way. They're at the bottom of the table. The weirdest game might be worth at least checking in on. Tigre hosting Bolivar. Tigre, 2nd Division, Argentina. They won the cup to get in here. Bolivar from Bolivia. Neither one's playing league play right now. Tigre scored first against Guarani in the last round. Then they gave up 4. Bolivar gave a pretty good fight, but they lost 2-1 to Palmeiras. Bolivar should be the better team, but they're going on the road here, and there's no telling how that's going to go. Are there juice boxes on this?
Why, yes, there are.
What are they saying?
Tigre minus 152, Bolivar plus 388, and your draw plus 298.
Go draw. I mean, if you want to be really crazy and go on Bolivar, it's worth a shot because this game's a weird one. But go draw. I feel like draw there. Estudiantes, Merida, and Nacional. Estudiantes is one of the Venezuelan teams that is left in the competition. They won 3-2 at home last round, which was a surprise because they're not playing currently either. Nacional has been very, very good. They went to Racing and won last round. Nacional should be a big favorite.
Not big. Merida plus 184, Nacional plus 152, and your draw plus 225.
You get a plus on Nacional, you take it. They've been really good in this competition. You take a plus number for Nacional all day long. Our boys, Binacional, are hosting River Plate, the Peruvian Pumas, who lost 1-0 last time out. They lost 8-0 at El Monumental to River in March. They will be at home, kind of. They're not actually at home, which hurts them a little bit here, playing elsewhere in Peru. They're playing a really good team who went to Sao Paulo and got a good result, a 2-2. River Plate has to be a big favorite.
They are. How big do you think they are?
No idea.
Minus 667.
Wow, that's a big favorite. What's B Nacional?
Plus 1667.
Give me the crazy stinky juice box on B Nacional. Just because I'm excited about their logo. That's really it. That's
the draw is the plus 637, by the way.
Yeah, give me B Nacional. Throw something on it. I'll throw a pack of Jumex mango on that one and see what happens. LDU Quito and Sao Paulo at 8:30. What are the numbers on this one?
LDU Quito minus 105. That's come down a little bit. They were a bigger minus number yesterday. Sao Paulo a plus 309 and your draw plus 231.
Run from it. Sao Paulo's a mess right now. Liga should win it, but yeah, don't even think about it. One of the more interesting games is the last one on the board tonight. Junior in Colombia hosting Independiente del Valle. The cult, the Kool-Aid has been made by Mataflow on Independiente del Valle. I'm on board. I'm picking them. What are the numbers?
Plus 234.
For Independiente?
Uh-huh.
Done.
Junior is a plus 121. Your draw is a plus 225.
Yeah, I'm taking the peach Jumex that I really like.
Oh, wow.
That's going on the Independiente del Valle. Yeah,
and your early juice boxes on tomorrow. Defensa is a plus 119 against Olimpia Asuncion of Paraguay.
Vamos Defensa. Vamos Defensa. That's going to do it for us. If you missed earlier and you're catching this at the end live, we are doing a scarf to welcome Marcelino Moreno to town. Bienvenido Marcelino, and on the back is Atlanta es Familia. All of the proceeds of that scarf will be going to the soccer school that is named after Marcelino Moreno at his first club, Atletico Palmira, which is in Mendoza. It is a very small club that plays in the local regional league, and they're going to make some money off of this deal. We're going to add a little bit more to the kitty and try to help some of the kids who want to be the next Marcelino Moreno. So those are available. They're $25. That includes the shipping. It is a fundraiser. That's why they're just a little bit more. And you can get them by sending us a message. You guys know the drill. If you've ordered scarves from us before, you can go ahead and pay us via PayPal. But send us a message if you don't have the information. We'll get you taken care of. They are in production now, so they should be available fairly quick. And we will get them out to you as soon as possible. And we will ask that you please take pictures with the scarf and tag the team. And Marcelino doesn't have social media, so there's nowhere to tag there. But just tag, anybody associated with the team, and let's try to welcome him in as best way we can, since, you won't have a big crowd in the building when he is available to play. Let's try to welcome him in whatever way we can. But we wanted to raise some money for the club that helped produce him, because it's a club that needs the money. It's a club that needs the support, and I love his story, and it really moved me to want to do something to help. So we're going to do that thanks to you guys who help us help. So that's available. Send us a message for the info. We'll get that taken care of. The run-up tonight, 7 o'clock, twitch.tv/soccer down here. It will be available on the app. It'll be available on the podcatchers as well. Tomorrow morning, normal show. We'll get ready for Atlanta and Dallas and any other news that comes out today. We'll be talking on the Twitters all about Copa Libertadores tonight, and lots of stuff happening. Thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate it. Fun show, fun conversation. Excited that Marcelino is now an Atlanta United player, and we'll see what happens next. Hopefully nobody else gets injured.
Yeah, really.
Please stop getting hurt, people. Mucho platio.
At the end of CONCACAF Champions League, it's the champ and the next 5 best ranked that go to CONCACAF Champions League in 2021. Mucho platio.